Hi everybody, this is Alchemist 2 and I'm back again with another book review. I just read Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, and it is a very intriguing, mysterious, dark, gritty, supernatural fairy tale of sorts with our young protagonist Richard Mayhew, or Dick as he's called. And Richard is living a very I guess you could say a pleasant existence. He is to be married. He has a fiance that loves him very dearly, and he has a job. Your run of the mill sort of paper pusher, sort of rank of employment, blue collar type of work. And it takes place in London, and it seems like it has kind of a steampunk Victorian vibe, especially if you look at the illustrations, which are done by Chris Riddell, and they're absolutely stunning. And it brings a whole new dimension to the story, I think. And it's funny, I should use the word dimension, but I won't go into why. You are quickly introduced to this world when Richard's with his fiance, and I should say fiance, and things seem to be turned upon their ear, especially when he encounters a young girl. And this young girl has been just hurt very brutally. She's bleeding and she's in need of attention immediately. And out of the kindness and magnanimity of his heart and his being, he goes out of his way to scoop her up. And of course, his fiance says, Richard Mayhew, if you touch that young lady, I will no longer have anything to do with you. I will consider our engagement annulled. And that's when everything changes. And of course, you get this crazy, dark, ominous, otherworldly plot that opens, and I won't say what it is because once I do, it's just going to give it all away, and I really don't want to do that because it's so engrossing and gripping, and even though some of it is a little bit rattling at times, and it's just like a lot of what happens in real life. I think even though it's fantasy, it's just saying that some things that happen in life we have no control over, and they occur, and you can either let them happen to you or take a stand and fight and have them work for you. And Richard, at first, Richard seems to be a character that is a victim of his circumstance, but then he grows and he matures over time, and he becomes more confident. It's a story I needed to read, especially right now with what I'm going through, and even in his situation. You think that everything is stacked up against him, and his odds really are he doesn't have a lot going on in his favor, especially after his fiance left him. He has nothing. The job that he had, everything that once was what he considered to be his identity, he knows he's Richard Mayhew, but he doesn't know where he is or why or even what purpose he has and where he has ended. And you think, oh my gosh, this is an existential crisis. And that's basically what it's pretending. And it's almost like he is lost. And to be honest, I am in the same situation. I'm just kind of in a void, and I've become numb to a lot of stimuli. And yet I think, where is the old me? But I do realize that a lot is changing and a lot is taking shape, and there's a lot of deliberation. You have to just be patient And these things don't happen overnight. Any good story in the making takes a process in order for it to come to fruition. And I realize that it's just like a farmer and crops, which is a good analogy, but Richard comes out on top in the end. And I'm not going to tell you a lot about the girl because she's very important to the story. In fact, she's integral to the story, and we figure out later why she's so important, and this the element of fantasy and how that comes in. Because at first you think, oh, this is just another story about a man who is working in a 9 to 5 job, and it's pretty, mundane and normal or kind of blasé and nothing really out of the ordinary until then you realize the girl is a Chekhov's gun, basically. I love Chekhov's guns. The only reason I say that is something's going to happen and that trigger's going to go off. That's why it's called that. And I know because of Chekhov. And Chekhov was just brilliant in how he used this as, a machina and just continuing the plot. And but anywho, it's a method of moving plot forward, and you realize that once that has happened, once the cataclysm has occurred, once that catalyst has gone off, everything's changed. It's just like the ripple effect or butterfly effect, and so many things just are triggered after that, and it just keeps rippling and rippling and rippling, and all of a sudden Richard, he's become a whole new person in the end, and it's incredible, and it's almost like he can't go back to what he once was, and he's changed, and even his fiancée realizes that, and it's the self-discovery. It's cleverly disguised as a children's book. I wouldn't really say this is a children's book because there's some swearing in it. I mean, there's some very strong language in it. European wise, it's probably not that big of a deal, but in America, we see a children's book with some, really harsh, very vulgar language, and it's understandable where it's coming from. I totally get it. I would too, in that kind of a situation. But these are other characters that are just, they're being lewd and graphic, and because they're lascivious, and that's just the way they talk, and it is warranted for the scenario, and it makes sense, and I love the fact that it flows naturally, and it segues from one scene to the next very seamlessly. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Neil Gaiman is an absolute genius. Reason I say this is because he'll trap you into the hook. The hook. It's absolutely brilliant. Because you know that he's having a crisis right from the beginning. And this is a prologue. I'm just going to read sentence number 1, and I'll listen to this. This is absolutely perfect. The night before he went to London, Richard Mayhew was not enjoying himself. You're from that moment, you are thinking, how is he not enjoying himself? I must know. Why? You think, oh, darn it, Mr. Gaiman, you've gotten me again. Ooh, you're good. But it's poetry in motion. I feel like every time I sit down to read a Gaiman book, and this didn't take me much time at all because it's very short, and even has a short story in the end with another character that's very important. I won't say who the character is. The character is not included in, it's just a small spoiler, but he's not included in what I would call the ordinary waking world that Richard is involved with, just the everyday kind of hustle and bustle of London, Soho, and Piccadilly, just these different locales that are so well illustrated in just vocabulary wise. It's very, very rife with meaning and extremely vivid. I don't even need the pictures. I like the pictures as an added bonus because I love to see other people's art. And the artwork is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to actually show. That's a little bit of a spoiler, sorry. Shouldn't have shown that. And there's poor Richard. Poor Dick, I feel for you. I love the expression. Ooh, those characters. Ooh, yeah. I won't go into the troll. Yeah, that's an interesting. I mean, the smallest detail is. You think, oh, that's intriguing. And there's a boar. Yeah. Ooh. Spooky. But I won't go into the boar. The boar is a very interesting point too. It's a foreshadow. That's a foreshadowing, and I'm gonna say just a little bit of a pinpoint on the boar. Pay very close attention to the boar. Let me just put it that way. That's really all I wanted to say about Neverwhere. It was made into a TV series. I haven't seen the TV series, but now after reading the book, I'm like, I have to see this now because I wonder how well it transitioned. One of my favorite movies of all time, Stardust, was done by Gaiman. I mean, I knew it was done by Gaiman. I hadn't really read the book, but the movie is, to this day, one of my favorite films. It just is so good. It's just such a beautiful fairy tale. It's a different kind of fairy tale, but it's one that I wouldn't mind seeing again and doing a review of just because it's been a long time. But my favorite I love the protagonists. They're my favorite, but Shakespeare was my ultimate favorite character just because he's very tongue-in-cheek and he's kind of effeminate, and I think that part of Shakespeare, actually, he is gay. That's what I was thinking that he was when I first saw the film. I'm thinking, Shakespeare's gay. But he is, subtle subtext. Just the way that he does it is just, yeah, it's magnifique. I mean, Gaiman, I just really feel like I said I'm sitting at the feet of the master, and I'm thinking, how could I learn from you, and how can I write just like you do and publish thousands of books like you have and become famous. But he is an inspiration to me, and hopefully someday I can become a lot like him and inspire others like he has. And I'm thinking maybe if I get lucky I can actually meet him and ask him his inspiration, because I'm very curious as to where he got the inspiration for Neverwhere, because this book is nothing short of absolutely spectacular, and it's astronomically done, and I could go on and on about how well written the book really is, but I can't. Even the short story in and of itself about another character, like I said, who's extremely integral to the whole meat and the coconut, I should say, of the tale. But that's basically all I have to say about Neverwhere. And now I have to see the television show. If anybody has any link to Neverwhere, please share it with me, because I don't have television right now. But I really want to see it, because it's a very kind of Twilight Zone, Twin Peaks sort of vibe that goes along with it. That's probably why I fell in love with it. The whole idea of that kind of scenario occurring is very, very fascinating to me. And another movie that reminds me of it, and I thought of it immediately when I picked it up, was Mirror Mask. And if you haven't seen Mirror Mask, then you'll know why I thought of it as soon as I picked it up. But anyway, I think that Mirror Masks and Neverwhere have a lot in common, and I would love to see a kind of a crossover. That would be very interesting. That, Neverwhere, and the 10th Kingdom, yeah, that would be good. Or Once Upon a Time, because Once Upon a Time does quite a bit of that, with interlinking a lot of different story plots and doing it in such a way that it makes it very, 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 very multi-layered. But I haven't watched the series as of late after Emma went dark, when she became the Dark One, I sort of turned away. But I'm probably going to pick it back up again just because I'm intrigued to see what she will do with the whole Dark One. But anyway, I'm getting off track. As far as giving this a review, a real grading system, I give it 2 thumbs up. It's, without a doubt that it deserves it. 5 stars, hands down. No kvetching, no complaining, no ragging, no nothing. It's completely perfect the way it is and needs no improvement. Even the short story on its own, this short story deserves full marks and high, very, very lofty, all altered praise. This is just absolutely insanely good. And Diamond shall always be this way, but that's all I gotta say. So until next time, live long. Well, actually, update. Instead of going to Days Inn, I'm gonna be heading to Order Sweets, which is an extended stay. It has a kitchenette, and I'll be able to take my animals, so they will be happy, and I won't have to kennel them, and it costs me less. So, and it's closer to work. Ah! Can you imagine that? God is good. But until next time, live long and prosper. Ciao, Tutti.